Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media, joined by Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
We have a meeting from August 17th to recap. Went about an hour and 20 minutes, so a lot of information there. Plus, a lot going on in the city, so we'll give you that recap in just a few minutes. Let's move into the agenda from the meeting on the 17th. First item, only item pulled off consent, was in recognition of a day that's coming up. A very important day. Give us a little background here and tell us about the special guest.
Yeah, so the 31st of August every year is International Overdose Awareness Day, and so a proclamation was presented and approved to recognize that day. So we'll also be lighting up the town green purple. The color associated with this effort is purple, and so we'll light up the town green purple on that day. And so we did have a family, a Maple Grove family that came in and shared their story of loss. They lost their son last fall to an overdose. And so we know that this issue affects a lot of families in Maple Grove. You know, just even since the start of the pandemic, we've had a big increase in overdose type situations, and our use of Narcan has gone up, which is great because it's intervening and helping to save people. But our concern over this issue for the community and the increase in overdoses that we're experiencing is really something real, and that our police department is highly engaged in. So I think appropriate that we honor this day and bring some attention to the issue.
Let's move ahead to some special business as well on the 17th agenda, and that was the update from Chief Bush of COVID-19. Any new information to pass along or questions that were asked of the chief?
No, you know, I think we're kind of settling in here, you know, after the mask mandate got put in place, and now, you know, just continuing to monitor the data. It seems like things are trending in a better direction as of the last few days, so that's good news, and we'll continue to monitor what's happening at the state level. But you know, we're kind of in our status quo for operations, and we have plans in place for all of our services. So we just continue to monitor and tweak things as we go here as the situation changes. And
if you haven't seen the updates from Chief Bush, obviously a lot of details there, and so the council and staff are very well informed of the situation here in the state. Let's move ahead to some retirements and a few more from the police department and some long-term employees for the city. Yeah, so we had the opportunity to honor Police Sergeant Trent McDonald on Monday night, and Trent has been with the Maple Grove Police Department for 24 years and then spent 6 years with the Eau Claire, Wisconsin department before that. So 30 years in total of service, and Trent has played a number of roles within our department here in Maple Grove, and investigative sergeant most recently. So he'll be retiring on September 11th, 2020 here, so coming up in September, and just want to thank Trent for his service to not only this community but to the law enforcement profession for 30 years. We're losing a lot of long-serving officers, and so we're in the process of making those transitions for the department, but certainly these retirements are a big deal for the department. And the second was Keith? Yeah, so we also were able to recognize Police Captain Keith Turlindon and his retirement. He's been with Maple Grove Police Department for 27 years, and prior to that served in various cities and out in McLeod County, Glencoe, Sacred Heart, for about 29 years total of law enforcement service. So again, Keith's played a number of roles here with the Maple Grove Police Department, most recently the Professional Standards Captain for the Police Department, and we just want to thank him for his service. You know, again, to Maple Grove, but also to the law enforcement profession, and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. And the mayor and all of the council members with many, many kind words for both of them and the service they gave to the city. Moving ahead, liquor violations. We have talked about this in the past. On a yearly basis, the city does a process. For those that aren't aware, give us a little background of the process and how this does work. Yeah, so we go out twice a year and do compliance checks. Generally, it's in May and October timeframe, where we, you know, send in a decoy underage buyer to attempt to buy alcohol, both at our on sale and off sale liquor license holders, and you know, usually we end up with 1 or 2 failures. Sometimes we've had 0 failures, which is a great celebration. But yeah, we had 5 failures this time, and actually we have a couple more coming back on September 21st. But you know, it's kind of an unfortunate situation. We actually delayed this because we were, you know, to be out in May, and we pushed it back. Of course, everything was shuttered back in May, and now we're kind of getting back into normal operations again. So needed to make sure this was being attended to,
And, you know, I think there's a lot of COVID protocols that people are paying attention to, but we just can't let down on the sale of alcohol to minors either. So we dealt with Angel's Liquor, which was an off sale, Cambria Hotel, Minneapolis. They have a small bar in their lobby there. And then Famous Dave's had a violation, the Market Grill Express out at Hy-Vee, and then Sam's Club for off sale. So the council, you know, talked with each one of those license holders. They typically send somebody, each of the businesses did, and talked about why this is so important to the city, and that you know, they need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So good process, but I think unfortunate for, you know, that these failures did occur. So.
Let's move ahead to community development from the meeting from the 17th. One major item, the Village Arbor Lakes Senior Housing. Tell us about this process. So give us a little recap of that facility that's coming as well.
Yeah, so this was the development stage plan and final plat, kind of the last step in their process for the development of a senior housing project. And it's really on kind of the northern end of the southern half of that Village of Arbor Lakes site, kind of on the commercial site. So just kind of north of Wahlburgers there, up against the residential that's to the north. Very nice project. Ebenezer will be operating this one, but very quality construction, kind of matching or complementary, I would say, to the apartments that are to the north, the Dorn project there. So this will be a nice addition to the community. I think they're looking to get started with some activity yet this fall, so we'll likely see this one come along, you know, get vertical in the spring. So
a few other updates of things coming up related to community development. One is Main Street. We've talked about that a little bit. What's the latest on the Main Street planning?
Yeah, so the Main Street Planning and Design study kicked off in the last couple weeks, and so we're working with a consulting engineering firm on that, and so that probably several months of work here, and we'll probably be bringing that to council for some review and input as we go along. But yeah, good to have that study kicked off, and we know there's going to be a lot of transitions of tenancy along that Main Street corridor. We've got a couple businesses that are leaving, and then Schuler's, of course, that departure there, and we know some of that space is going to be broken up into smaller businesses and maybe transition to more restaurants, services, that kind of a thing. So I think it's a good time to be looking at that corridor and thinking about, you know, what Main Street wants to be for the future.
Very good. We'll keep following that, and one of the popular events on Main Street is always Chock Fest, but a few changes to Chock Fest. Give us some of the details residents need to know, and there's some fun that can be had right now with some murals that are up.
Yeah, so if you've been around downtown area, that we do have some murals, painted murals that are up. We have some at the Government Center, and so that's been fun to go out, and they're noted on the Chock Fest website. So if you kind of go take a look at that, or yeah, I think it's the Chock Fest website. If you just Google Maple Grove Chock Fest, it'll come up. But their murals are on display through September 30th, and they're kind of sprinkled 12 locations around the Arbor Lakes area, Government Center, Central Park, and then a map and more information is found at chockfestarborlakes.com. So that's the website address. So
excellent.
Go take a look at that. And then in addition, on the weekend of August 29th and 30th, there will be some Facebook Live things going on that you can take a look at during that weekend time. But good to get out and take a look at that art that's sprinkled around town. All
right, and a chance for people to vote through Facebook as well. So again, look for all that information, ways to get involved with Chock Fest this year in a little different way than normal. Coming up for the Planning Commission Arbor Committee, there is talk again about tree preservation. You mentioned this as well. Just give us a little idea again and reminder about that ordinance discussion. Yeah, so we had tabled this earlier this summer. The council wanted an opportunity to talk a bit more about what the ordinance changes were. And so we're going to come back hopefully at a work session on September 21. More information to come about that. But that's our plan at this point, to have some discussion about that ordinance change. Final note from Community Development, the update on the loan process, and that process continues to go well, I understand. Yeah, so we're in our second round of business assistance loans. This is our EDA recovery loan fund through our CARES Act funds. We've received about 20 applications in this round of funding. We could probably do a couple more. So if you're out there and you're a local business and you're interested, please give Brett Angel a call, or all the information is also available on our website about how to apply. Website will be at the end of the program. It is maplegrovemn.gov to find out that information. Let's move ahead to Public Works and City Engineering, and the discussion around the Metro Blue Line took a few minutes. Tell us why this occurred and what were some of the comments.
Yeah, so Maple Grove has a long history with the discussion of the Bottineau light rail transit line corridor back at the time where the corridor was being discussed, and this is probably 15 plus years ago,
Right.
but Maple Grove was a considered route for that Bottineau light rail transit line. So, you've seen potentially in the media that negotiations with Burlington Northern have kind of broke down, and so they're moving to kind of abandon that route that was along the Burlington Northern corridor and select a new route. And so, we as a staff and the council thought it was important that we be at the table as we talk about what that new route might be. We have thought, and we've had plans in place that when it would be built, we would do some circulator bus connections to the light rail to serve some of our employment areas, that kind of thing. So we do have a vested interest in that route, and so I think the goal of this item on the agenda was to direct staff to send comments to the Bottineau Light Rail Transit Corridor Management Committee that we'd like to be a member of that and participate in those discussions going forward. So those letters went out yesterday, and so we'll see where that discussion goes over the coming months and I suppose years.
Right, more information to come on that. We will definitely follow that. Let's move out to the highway I-94 update. Ken gave a little update. What is the latest and what should we prepare for?
Yeah, so it's getting a little bit more challenging to get eastbound on 94 from Weaver Lake, and so those entrance ramps are closed. There is one entrance ramp that's being maintained for now that is really kind of the HOV lane, but there's really not a good left-hand turning lane. It was really more intended for buses, that kind of a thing. So there's kind of a short stacking area there. So there is a detour posted that would take you north up to Maple Grove Parkway and to get back on there. But we do know that more traffic is probably going to funnel down Weaver to Elm Creek to Hemlock to get to that eastbound 94 access point. So just be aware for more traffic as those ramp closures impact things out there.
Yes, indeed. Watch for the signs and watch for the cones. Rice Lake Homeowners Association doing some talking about a possible lake drawdown. Why does this happen, and what is the process to get this to happen? Yeah,
so they go through a process with their homeowners association, the Rice Lake, the riparian lake homeowners, there to get a petition put together. There has to be a certain level of support to do it, but they do a drawdown basically to deal with kind of the invasive weed species that are kind of at the shore edge of the lake. And while they're in there and they do the drawdown, they do take an opportunity to make sure we're cleaning up any garbage or anything like that that's accumulated at the lake bottom. But this is a project that of course is done over the winter months. So they're looking to do that this winter, and so we're working with that Lake Homeowners Association, and we'll see how that petition comes out. But that's a project that's looking for 2021.
Very good.
Yep.
Final note from Ken was a little talk about the storm, which we recently had in the area, and thankfully really didn't hit Maple Grove much, but there'll be an impact because others will be bringing things to Maple Grove.
Yeah, so we kind of got, we were sort of sandwiched in between. There was worse stuff to the north and then just barely to our south here. So we kind of escaped it a little bit. But we did have a lot of storm damage in areas to the south and east. And of course, those are folks that are partners with us in our Yardway site. And so the Yardway site is working with those cities to accept some larger log sizes, that kind of thing. But we know there's going to be an uptick of material coming there because of all the trees that went down in that storm last Friday night. So, yeah.
All right, be
busy
watching
place
for that. Let's move ahead to your comments at the meeting, and you were talking about some things that are coming up, the CARES funding and also budget talk. Give us a preview of both of those upcoming discussions. Yeah, so we want to have some discussion with the council about our allocation of our CARES funds. The city received an allocation from the state that came down through the feds of those CARES dollars, and so we've been working on that in terms of documenting our costs associated with that. So we'll have some discussion about that, and then as part of the budget process, we had done some projections about kind of our revenue losses on the Park and Rec side, and so we're kind of checking back on those and seeing where we're showing up in terms of our revenues so far this year, and then doing some projections out to 2021, and going to share some of that information with the council as well. Very good. Yep. We've been helping you follow the finance director process throughout the city. Give us the update there. We're getting close. Yeah, so the recruitment process closed out this past weekend, and so we've got some internal or
interviews with our directors team next week, and then we'll be looking to do some interviews with the city council probably the middle of September. But yeah, Steve's last day is September 30th, so we're anxious to get his chair filled, and it's a busy time of the year. Kind of a lull in the budget, but we're, again, working through the CARES Act dollars and that kind of a thing. So it's an important position for the city.
Final note is a look to the Capitol. What is the latest from the Capitol? What are you following and talking about?
Yeah, so the next special session is scheduled to be September 13th, and we'll see, what transpires here in the next few weeks leading up to that. But of course, our hope is that they do pick up the bonding bill for discussion. We knew that was not going to happen in August, so hopefully that will. Hopefully the session will occur, and then they'll pick up the bonding bill and we could get some action before election season gets into full swing.
All right, speaking of election season, we'll hop to that in a second. Again, that's your recap of the meeting that happened on August 17th. Speaking of the election, give us a look at what is happening now related to people filing for office and getting ready to vote again.
Yes, so we're getting, we just finished up the primary, and right away we turn around and start getting ready for the general. So we do have a city council election this November, election day November 3rd. You can start absentee voting on September 18th, so it's coming up here quickly. We have 2 seats on the city council up for election, and these are 4-year terms that would go from 2021 to 2024. Candidates this year are Christy Barnett and Judy Hansen, currently on the city council. And then we have Hawana Hobson, Christy Janago, Karina Jayasuriya, and Sherlyn LaChapelle. So we have 6 candidates for 2 seats, and I know you guys are going to be doing some candidate interviews, that kind of a thing, high spotlights. So and we'll have, I'm sure, candidate forum. Not sure how that's going to look quite yet, but all of those things will be rolling out here in September and October as we look towards the election.
And before we get too far away from the primaries, some thank yous to go out as well, and some numbers from that.
Of course, we want to say thank you to all of our election judges and our staff that really pulled together to pull off an election. And of course, this year was, different than years gone by, and a lot more preparation and things to plan for and materials to have on hand. So we really want to thank them. And then we did have a voter turnout of about 23% for the primary, which is higher than we normally see in a primary election, but we did have a significant number of mail-in ballots for that election, which I think moved those numbers up. So great turnout, and the primary went off without a hitch. So great work to our staff and election judges.
Very good to hear. We've talked quite a bit about the photo contest and encouraging people to send in photos, and you responded because many photos came in. Give us a recap of that process and what has happened here recently. Yeah,
so we had over 500 entries submitted by Maple Grove residents to our photo contest. The judging panel, of course, included you, and so local media and communications representatives, and then several past photo contest participants, and 2 who are professional photographers. So we really try to take, a studied look at it. And so judges made their selections individually and then met online to narrow them down to 15 winners, 3 in each of the 5 categories. So the winners have already been notified. So if you submitted and you've been selected, you should know that by now. And then they'll see their photos on the city website, social media, and City Hall. I know Carol was in today. We have a display case that we put them all up in. She was redoing that. So you'll start to see that in the social media posts as well. And then I believe we're going to recognize those folks at a council meeting on September 21st.
Very nice.
Yes. So
great
we appreciate everybody's involvement.
That's fantastic. Let's give people an update on the census. A little bit forgotten with all this going on with COVID, but give us some reminders about the census and the importance.
Yeah, so the 2020 census is still underway. Census takers will be visiting those who haven't yet completed it. Maple Grove has really turned out for this. We have an 85.3% response rate. So that is really remarkable, especially given that the national response rate is 63.4% and then 72.6% for Minnesota overall. So we're really killing it out here in Maple Grove, which is great. But if you haven't participated yet, make sure you reach out. 2020census.gov. There's information there about how to participate.
All right. Here's a sweet note for you, a new dessert shop in town. Tell us what we can taste here.
Yeah, so this is coming over by the fountains. It's kind of in the former Wonder space, so that ice cream space that was there. Mango Desserts, which is a national franchise of Asian-inspired desserts. They've signed a lease for that space at the Fountain of Arbor Lakes. And this is going to be Mango's second location in Minnesota. I think they have one in Dinkytown, and so they're looking for an October of 2020 opening. They're not making a lot of changes to the space, just some cosmetic things. So their menu looks awesome if you go on and Google it.
All right, keep your eye out for that coming to town. Let's talk about the Park and Rec Department getting creative here. What is a story walk?
Yeah, so they have a new story walk set up at the town green. Take a walk along the pond while reading The Lion's Haircut by Jennifer Giddings. It's a heartwarming tale of a lion with a shaggy mane who tries to avoid getting a haircut and the lessons he learns along the way. So we've been setting these story walks up at different parks just to give families an opportunity to get out and something to do in our parks.
Yeah, very fun. Farmers Market, we want to keep you up to date on some of the activities there. How are things going and what's new and fresh out at the market?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go last Thursday and it was busy, but well managed, and then lots of vendors and lots of fruits and vegetables out there. The tomatoes are just looking fabulous, and there was still lots of sweet corn and all those kinds of things. So we're still there from 3 to 7 every Thursday, and that goes through October. So make a visit to the farmers market Thursday afternoons.
And not only buying things to take home, but also things you can eat right there as well. So keep that in mind as you go. Come a little hungry, because that's not a bad thing. Splash pad, give us the update there. I know a big part of the city and a lot of people going out to the pad. What is the latest on use?
Yeah, so it's been really busy, and you know, we have staff out there because we need to monitor the number of folks that are in there at a time. But 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. it's free to come play in the fountain. And then the changing rooms and the restrooms are available in the park building, but we don't have concessions open at this time.
Okay, understandable.
Yep.
Final note, let's talk about firefighters and some firefighters to celebrate. And actually, they were part of the council meeting as well.
Yeah, so on our council consent agenda, we had probationary firefighter appointments, on-call firefighter appointments. And so we had 9 recruits that graduated from the West Suburban Fire Academy. So the cities kind of come together and do their fire academy. Makes it a lot easier for everybody to deliver that training. Those completing the academy earn their certifications in firefighting and hazardous material response, and these are all things that are required by the state of Minnesota. On top of careers and family, they put in the work to complete the necessary training requirements to become a firefighter. So September 1, that'll go into effect, that they be promoted to probationary firefighters, and then they continue throughout the year getting all their training in, and then 2021, they do fire apparatus operator training and get all their other certifications, and then they become a full-fledged firefighter after about another year of training. So it's a big investment, but it's training that we provide and pay for. So think about joining the team at some point in the future.
Yeah, congratulations to all. We've done some videos in the past on the process, and it is an involved process. But again, they always seem to be having a good time, and the thought is it's a way I can give back to my community.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for the information today.
You're welcome.
Always appreciate the update. Let's leave you with some information about that next meeting, which is going to be a while here. So we'll take a little break here as we head through the end of August and early September with Labor Day. The event, it will actually be on the Tuesday, correct? Tuesday, September 8th.
That's correct.
It will be on the Tuesday because of the holiday, 7:30 at the Government Center. Phone number at the bottom of the screen. Website, we mentioned it earlier. A lot of information passed along today. Go to maplegrovemn.gov to find out more. And our viewer response line, 533-1710. Questions or comments for Heidi? We'd love to hear those as well. Heidi, thanks so much for the time again. We'll see you next time on the Maple Grove City Report.